Hello and welcome again to another exciting episode of the Communist Hour with your host, the Mass Communist. First thing I'd like to get into is the recent presidential debate that came up where one of the candidates was stopped at a Florida convention by an elderly woman who was obviously disturbed. Uh, she immediately started slandering President Obama, saying that legally President Obama is not the president, and we shouldn't refer to him as such, and all this other stuff. And the candidate didn't defend the president whatsoever. He just sort of stood back, and at a later interview on, I believe it was CNN, he reported that this was an elderly woman. She was standing on a cane. She was obviously shaky, and he said that he was not going to slam an old woman on television. That seems ridiculous to me because obviously, if you're going to be a leader, you should realize that the person who immediately at the time is your government official, your commander-in-chief, who the president obviously is, perhaps you should give some sort of defense to him, because possibly in the future he'll end up defending you, and that just proves my point more and more that politicians are a bunch of backstabbing uh, groups that obviously have no care for anybody out there in the world aside from their own pocketbook. And they should definitely get into what their industry is. Their industry is government, helping people, uh, controlling deficits, and performing basic duties that are meant to help and govern the rest of the United States. And obviously, these people don't want to do that because somebody's old and they have a cane, which makes no sense. I mean, did anybody? Was there a process going to impeach FDR and it didn't go through because he was in a wheelchair? No, obviously not. The man was a leader. I mean, seriously, just because it's an old lady, you should have the integrity and at least the gall which you would use to defend the American people to tell this old lady, no, you're completely wrong. He is the president. He's been acting as the president for the last 4 years, and obviously, he's our commander-in-chief. He is the boss. Go to any armory, any military base, you'll see his picture up on the wall. Commander-in-chief going down the chain of command on the picture boards. Honestly, if somebody has such little integrity and ability to stand up for themselves simply because of somebody's outside appearance, obviously this person shouldn't be running for the election for president because he doesn't have the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude to be our president. And honestly, if I were to see somebody slamming an old lady on TV, telling her, no, you're absolutely wrong, that's completely false, he is the president, he is in control, I'd have a greater respect for the man. Because honestly, I mean, around the Thanksgiving table, obviously you don't want to sit there and slam grandma, otherwise you're never going to leave. You're just going to have a pissed off old lady badgering at you the entire day, but when you're running for a presidential election, you're never going to see that person again, so just correct them. I mean, honestly, if I was wrong and somebody told me, oh, well, you're full of crap, then I, I may not agree with them, but still, I'd say, you know what, I probably am in some ways, but I'm pretty sure you're not perfect either. I mean, honestly. Um, okay. A recent study going into veteran affairs here says here that the Congress is working to pass a bill to restrict military benefits further than what they are now. And honestly, that's a load of crap. These people go out and they fight and they die for the freedom of the American people. And they're cutting their benefits even more? I mean, honestly, the military doesn't really pay that well. I mean, seriously, they do not pay well. And I think the highest pay I'd ever seen was I saw the pay of an O3, which is a captain in the United States Army, and truthfully, it's not much more than a $12 an hour job. It honestly is not. I mean, sure, there are things that are offered there for free, like the medical, dental, eye, all of that's provided for them, but still, a take-home paycheck of only $12 an hour? That's minuscule at best. And these people are expected to go overseas, be able to fire at the enemy, be fired at by the enemy, and survive these situations. And our government's just essentially saying, piss on you? Screw your college benefits, post 9/11 GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill. Most of those are going to be reduced by well over 50%. And right now, at what they're sitting, they're barely paying for instructional courses, let alone full-on degrees, so that these people can move from their trade in the military, which oftentimes military trades don't transfer over to the civilian sector, and these people are being pissed on simply because they're saying we don't have enough money. And there I go again, bringing up the money issue, the most unevolved system that we have in our government today. Money. Shiny rocks and paper. And these people are fighting and dying for our country, for our freedom, and nobody's supporting them. I mean, sure, people, if you're walking down the street in uniform, I'm sure that dozens of people would walk up to you and shake your hand and say, thank you for your service, but realistically, that's not supporting the troops. Supporting the troops would be giving them the essentials that they need to live. I mean, after the Vietnam conflict, we had the highest unemployment rate of veterans compared to 2008. Now it's actually 10% higher unemployment rate for military personnel. After 2008, this is 2012 now. I can only imagine how many soldiers are homeless because of these cutbacks and all the crap that the government's pushing forward to not get these people what they need. I mean, seriously. Overall, I know Texas has a 7.6% unemployment rate. Oregon has a 8.5, and Washington State, so far the most impressive one, has a 19% unemployment rate. That's the lowest in the US. And we can't get these people jobs. We can't find them any sort of employment, anything, to help them pay taxes. And yet the number one reason they execute people for murder is simply because they got rid of a taxpayer. Somebody who could have paid at least 20 more years in taxes. And that's why rapists get off so easily, because they didn't take that person's life They just emotionally traumatized them and made it so that they had to drain more off of our resources that go to tax dollars, but they can still work and they can still pay taxes even though they're emotionally traumatized for the rest of their life. They're tortured for the rest of their life because somebody raped them rather than murdered them, taking away tax dollars. And for some reason, nobody is working to help these people. I mean, there's all these wild claims being made by certain heads of state and state governments and certain programs for the federal government, but nothing's actually being done about it, and people are suffering for it. To put it quite simply, we have candidates who have no intestinal fortitude who are coming in, trying to gain the presidency. We have people making wild accusations against the president, the current president, without any grounds for this. And something needs to be done drastically to improve the situation that we're in now. We're in debt for almost $5 billion to communist China. China owns 45% of the United States, quite literally, in just what we owe them. And we can't somehow figure out how to provide more jobs and more income for people to stimulate our economy so that we could pay this money back. I just hope that someday somebody can end up looking at the Utopian Communist website. It's called Truth Freedom at truthfreedom.webs.com. It's the website promoting the Utopian Communist Party, which is in business to benefit every single person individually, not a mass group, not a government. It's meant for the people. That's exactly what the group is for. Well, my time is nearly up here. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I will be doing another episode shortly after this one to finish the discussion, because it only lets you record for about 15 minutes. But after this, I will have another episode up based on the same subjects as what we're discussing now. And hopefully you found this episode enlightening. And within the next 2 months, I will be doing my No Crap Brainzilla Award. Hopefully it's an enjoyable show. Thank you, and have a wonderful